Welcome to the Goddess Conference Conversations. In this space, we will connect with interesting personalities, presenters and artists from our international community and chat about the upcoming conference's topics and themes.
Oh, hello everybody. It is a real pleasure today to have with us here one of this year's Goddess Conference presenters, the amazing Jesamyn, all the way from Detroit. I know it's super early for you over there. I'm so delighted that you can be with us to talk to us about all things magical, the amazing work you're doing with the Sister of the Moon, witchcraft, circles and covens and trainings. It's just amazing that you're bringing these healing strands this year all the way over to be with us here in Avalon. So, Jesamyn, thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Katinka. And I want to clarify that I'm in California.
Oh, I said that completely wrong.
I'm
sorry, Jesamyn. That's terrible.
That's okay. That is totally fine. I was in Detroit this year offering ritual at a conference, but I'm in the Bay Area near San Francisco, California.
Okay, even further than I thought. My goodness.
Yeah, all the way on the ocean, on the Pacific.
Wow. Well, that's fantastic. I'm sorry I got that wrong.
That is fine.
Anyway, would you perhaps like to share a little bit with us of your journey with the goddess personally, if you like, and also perhaps what are the strands of her healing energy that you're bringing? I mean, for me, you know, witchcraft and Wicca that's goddess-based is such an amazing healing journey for so many of us, such an initiation into goddess consciousness returning and our empowerments re-grounding into the feminine as sacred as well. So would you just speak about your experiences a bit? We'd love to know more.
Of course. Yes, my path is goddess-based, and Sisterhood of the Moon is a goddess-based matriarchal tradition, and everyone is welcome, but we do hold women-only circles, and we do hold circles for everyone. And the goddess spoke to me at a very young age. Around the age of 13 is when I dedicated myself to her. But it wasn't until I was 19-ish that I found goddess spirituality in particular. And the moment I read 𝗁𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 just the God. I love the God, and I love the God in many of his forms, but there's something about being a woman in the patriarchy and having the goddess to look towards and to follow. And this year for the conference, I'm bringing a ritual that centers Bridget, who is a very important goddess to me personally, but also to our community here, in that she is the matron of our women's circles. So Bridget was, when I was looking at offering a presentation this year, Bridget is like tapping me on the shoulder, and she's like, "Hi, please, I would like for you to bring me to my homeland." So yes, I'm walking with Bridget and have been for a very long time, but this year in particular, as I've brought versions of this ritual around the world. So I'm so excited to share with everyone at this conference.
How fabulous. Thank you so much, because yes, I think, aren't we fortunate that we have these trailblazers whose books we read or whose workshop we go to, and who really ignite that recognition in us as women of the presence of the goddess. I love that, what you're saying about that. It's so beautiful, and a thread I think that's very recognizable for many of us. And of course, Bridget is one of the great goddesses, and one of her many aspects is healing. And we're going to place her very, very firmly in our center of this Goddess of Healing year. So this is so exciting, this beautiful weaving of, you know, sisters from different sides of the world who work with her in slightly different ways, perhaps, but who can find that beautiful harmony. Would you tell me a little bit more about your connection to Bridget?
I believe my connection to Bridget goes back to my Catholicism growing up as Saint Bridget. And that's where I first heard about her. And her aspects are so many. She is maiden, she is mother, she is queen, she is crone. And one of the things that I've learned about her in walking so closely with her is that she's not simply an ancient goddess, she's also very modern. And her modern aspects are very intriguing to me as a modern witch and a modern priestess. I think sometimes we get caught up in the herstory of the goddess and tracing her back, and that's very, very important. But we forget that she is still alive in this here and this now, and that she is a modern goddess in the way that we are modern women, and that it is okay to take from the past, but it is important also to be open to the present and to look towards the future. And Bridget is definitely one of those goddesses for me that is very present in this here and now. And I met so many women this year that are devoted and dedicated to her, and some of them are very recent dedicants, and I really feel like she is calling her daughters home right now very, very strongly and very, very loudly.
Absolutely. I mean, that's, I think, what we're very much feeling here too. I'm sure you know that Marion, the co-organizer, is one of the Priestesses of Bridget, holding a training here for Priestesses of Bridget, and she's completely in devotion and dedicated. And what you're speaking into there is so interesting, isn't it? Because we can get so hooked on an aspect of the goddess. I mean, here in the Avalonian wheel, Bridget is very much seen in her maiden aspect as bridey, but she is not bridey. That is just one particular little aspect, one particular little archetype of her form. And so this weaving of this modern goddess, as you're saying, is so important, though it is wonderful to have that historical resonance. And yes, this calling back to goddess seems to really be happening, and Bridget is very much awakening many of us, I think. Yes. So within what you are going to be offering in the conference, Jesamyn, are you going to be specifically working with Bridget in your workshop, or what is your golden thread of healing you're bringing to weave in?
I love this imagery of the thread, because my ritual is bringing a thread. So I'm presenting a ritual, and it is called her well of transformation, and it is a rite of self-restoration that we will be performing together, where we cast off that which is no longer serving and call forth that which we want to walk forward with. And we will be doing a white thread ceremony within this ritual, and I'm just really blown away right now by this imagery, because it is absolutely perfect. And not knowing that that was the metaphor that you were all working with, well, I'm over here working with it too, just feels so powerful to me. And I have truth bumps all over my arms right now. This is absolutely amazing. Yes.
Oh, that's wonderful. Isn't that just how she weaves us together? She is the weaver and the web, isn't she? And we're bringing her threads together. That's gorgeous. How lovely. I didn't know you were going to do that either. So
wild.
So beautiful.
Wild. Yes. I love it.
Yeah.
And I will be offering a different version of it that aligns with the work that we're doing in person for the online conference as well. So a shorter, more personal, solitary version of the working. So that, wow. And I'll be working with her fire elements for the online conference, and we'll be working with her water elements for the in-person.
Also perfect. Perfect. I mean, this year we are also tapping into the well maidens, these archetypical goddesses of healing associated with the waters here of Avalon and the Celtic land. So it is all in the mix. It's so stunning, that really, really wonderful. And so when you are bringing these rituals, I mean, you're very well versed and grounded into these practices of rituals. You've written books about it. I believe you're writing one at the moment, or are in the process of doing so?
Yes, I'm writing a book right now, and it's about moon magic and moon rituals and moon practices, because Sisterhood of the Moon, obviously I am a lunar witch and lunar priestess.
Oh.
So, yeah.
And that's coming out next year, I think.
It'll be out next year, I believe, in the fall. I think in the fall of 2025. Yes.
Okay, there's going to be some great books coming out in 2025. I mean, amazing. We will have to keep our eye out for that one. That's really good. So within the tradition, really, the witchcraft tradition that you are a lineage holder for, and that you are bringing these new modern ways forwards, grounded very much in goddess presence. Can you tell us a little bit about that, about your community, so that we can feel each other, you know, the community here, the Goddess Conference community, which is international, and your
Yes.
beautiful community over there?
Yes, so we are blessed to have an in-person community here in the San Francisco Bay Area, and we also work online, especially during the pandemic. So we really had to kind of grow ourselves up fast with technology. So we're blessed that we have sisters all over the world now, but we primarily meet here in our temple in Hayward, California, and we offer rites that center the goddess only. So even in our circles that are for all genders, we center the goddess only. And this is one way that we are holding to try to swing the pendulum back towards equal for women. We walk this world where everyone talks about God, everyone talks about the Christian God. So we talk about the goddess. And someday, perhaps we can all return to that center place. But for now, we hold that other side of the pendulum, centering her, an important thing to honor and recognize and be aware of, that women are holy and sacred, just as men are, and just as non-binary people are, that we are all whole, holy, and sacred, exactly as we are in every moment. So that's the crux of our work there.
And that is important. That is such a core alignment, really, to center on. I think that whole thing you're talking about there, that piece of work of making her the center, which she is for us, of course, you know, not to the exclusion of other forms of the divine, but to actually stand for that, and to stand for that as people in this time. I think I just really honor you for holding that space, and the people who are walking that path in their own ways as well. You know, we all do that in slightly different ways, but this is very important.
Yes, and we believe that everyone deserves the love and embrace of the goddess. It doesn't matter what gender you are, that she is here for all beings, and that's important to recognize and to put out there. I think some people don't realize that there is an option to worship the Divine Mother and to partner with her in her aspect as a creatrix in our lives.
Absolutely. I mean, isn't that, you know, for those of us who've been doing this for a long time now, it kind of is a bit mind-blowing to realize that the people who actually don't even know the concept, the word, or the idea of, let alone the experience of goddess. It's so I think that in itself is healing. How for you is goddess healing, or how does her healing manifests for you?
I think for me, especially, that seeing that there is deity that is in my image is healing for me, after being raised in the Roman Catholic Church, and women weren't even allowed to be altar girls, and we weren't even allowed to participate in ceremony in that way. And I was always called by ceremony. And I mean, as a young child, was very turned on by ceremony, but there was no place for me within it. And finding the goddess and seeing that, oh wow, there is deity in my image, and my service is welcome and called for at these altars, I think for me was probably one of the most healing realizations in my life. And I feel very blessed to have had that realization very early in life, especially where I was living and how I was living. It's an absolute miracle that I even found the goddess and the path of witchcraft. A book was in my home. I have no idea who put it there. No one will lay claim to it. But it was Laurie Cabot's book, Power of the Witch. And reading that book, I learned that book in and out, and it really opened me up to not only were men sacred, that women were sacred too, and that all people were sacred. And I just give such honor to 𝗁𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 and whoever put that book in my home so many years ago. Just overflowing with gratitude. And that was so healing. That really activated so much. And at the time, I was still living in the Roman Catholicism of my heritage, but I was also practicing witchcraft. So it was a very interesting time, and being young and just kind of, you know, pre-internet, we're stumbling, we're finding our own way, we're teaching ourselves, we're remembering ourselves, we're activating our ancient DNA to remember who we are and how we performed ceremony and ritual back when goddess was most prevalent.
Totally, absolutely, and so recognizable. And I think that moment of recognition of when you are drawn to a sacred life or a sacred path or practices or the ritual elements, you know, ceremonies, and to stumble upon this entirely different perspective that, you know, how amazing and so healing, and such a deep yes within that, resonating within ourselves. Yeah, I recognize what you're saying there, of course in a slightly different form, but yeah. And then how for you did that beautiful place of, you know, teaching yourself, because absolutely pre-internet, you know, it was all actually a lived experience, a self-initiatory path, really, with the help of books, perhaps. But
Yes.
and
I mean,
how did that lead you to the reclaiming of the priestess archetype, talking about ceremonial service? But what was that for you, that particular calling?
well, I feel like I always had that calling, but it was kind of latent, and I knew I wanted to serve, but I didn't know what that looked like, because all I had was books, yes, and teaching myself. And I believe it was in 1996, somewhere right around there, I went to a women's herbal conference in New Hampshire, and at night they had ceremony. And the ceremony I went to is held by a priestess called Alyssa Starkweather. And it was a ceremony for grieving and grief. And there were hundreds of women there. And I remember walking into this ceremony, terrified, of course, and watching her and the women that she trained and how they held the space and what they did with the space, and just having the light bulb go off and knowing that was my path. I finally saw what it looked like, but I think more importantly is I felt what it felt like. And I just knew that I would do whatever it took to follow that path, to follow the path of the priestess, and to do the work and to have the dedication. And it was a different time. Nothing was instantaneous. You had to really put in the work. And it was very solitary and very lonely at times, But the calling was so strong that I knew that to have a good life, I had to follow that no matter what it meant.
Yeah.
So blessings upon Alyssa Starkweather. And I know she's still doing the work. I never did get to train with her because I moved away from where she lived soon after, but I know she's still out there doing the work, and she's absolutely amazing, and her music is fantastic. If people haven't listened to that, her goddess chants are wonderful, wonderful.
Yes, they are. And blessed be our teachers and those who have trailblazed before us, because really we stand on the shoulders of those who have done that in their own way. And then we get to take it further, or in a different direction, or in new ways, or in a more expansive form, or whatever it needs to be. I think very much Goddess is pulling us and placing these books or these people or these opportunities, these moments in front of us. And from this kind of, it is a solitary, or it was anyway, when I called myself a witch, I was also solitary, a hedge witch or whatever, you know. And it was like, I'm not sure if that's still the same now, because I don't associate so much with that particular format. I'm far more into the devotional path of the priestess now, but there are such places of overlap. And so there is something there, isn't it, where something just clicks. It is an extraordinary feeling.
Yeah, it's wild. We just have to be open and listen and trust and surrender, which are not easy things to do. But she does put those markers, and she puts them until we recognize too. I feel that way. But it's a lot of leaps of faith. A lot of big leaps.
And so, Bridget, in specific, is she a goddess that you were already familiar with? Or did that come actually after you connected to that priestess archetype and that path of devotion?
I feel like I was familiar with her, but I was so young and there wasn't much material. I know I would hear about Saint Bridget, but I knew that wasn't her. I knew that wasn't her. I believe I came much closer to her once I moved to California and started studying with a local priestess, and we worked with her every year around Imbolc, as many do, as we do still in my tradition. So we do honor her in that maiden aspect here as well. And she really spoke to me, and I do have some shared DNA with where she came from. And then in 2019, I pilgrimaged to Kildare and went to where the nuns are, but then we went to find her real well in Kildare over by the horse farm. And I remember seeing that well and being like, yes, this is the place. And not that the other water isn't holy, and not that the other site isn't holy, but it's very human made versus the ancient well where now it's a bus stop. But I was there in it with my shoes off while people waited for the bus and gave me the little look, but that's okay. I'm pretty sure they knew what I was doing there.
I'm sure they did.
Yes.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yes.
So moon magic, is this a part of your work, really? Your work with women, your work with healing, that you are, I don't know if you are going to be touching on that in the conference, but you are definitely bringing that in your work in the world.
Yes, very much so. I believe that each lunar phase has a way in which we can heal ourselves, and of course do spell work and magic and ritual, but each phase and each sign holds a different piece of that healing. And when we can work with the moon through the entire year, throughout the entire cycle, we can move through the entire pathway of healing, whatever it is that we want to work with for that year. And I myself have always been attracted to the moon. My mom talks about when I was really small, before I had words, and I would point at the moon and I would cry, and she would try to hold me up closer, and I would reach up and I would cry. So the moon has always been my mother. She is my big lady, both as guises of the goddess, but also just her energy. Her is a luminary, and my sun is in Cancer, so of course I'm ruled by her anyway. I think that's a big part of my connection with our moon mama.
Oh, that's beautiful.
I love her so very much.
And we did a whole conference one year dedicated or themed on the Moon Maiden goddess. The last cycle really, that it was a maiden year. So what is the maiden aspect of the moon in your work, in your tradition?
In my tradition, that would be the new moon. That would be the new moon, and that first crescent that we see, which we call Diana's bow, that promise, that hope, that potential, that possibility, and also that fearlessness that the maiden has. She is so courageous because she doesn't know better. And I think that is so important. We need that energy. That's what gets things started. That's what gets things moving. I associate it with a Fool card in the tarot. Like, here we go. Like, we're off on our adventure, and come what may, like, we're ready for it. I'm so excited that we're working with Maiden and healing together. I think that this is very, very potent, that here we are,
Yes,
that seed magic of the Maiden.
absolutely. And this bridging, the bow is the bridge as well. Bridget is a bridging goddess of bridging different traditions, different faces of the moon, perhaps even, and certainly our different strands of healing that we're weaving into her green mantle in the conference this year.
Yes, I feel it. I feel it.
I'm so excited you're coming to join us and bringing all these beautiful gifts and offering. So appreciating you coming all the way and sharing your gifts with us all. I'm sure everybody who will come to the conference will super enjoy your presentation, your offerings as workshop. So if you haven't bought your tickets yet, do that now. You can go to the website, which we will put the text on afterwards. But I mean, yeah, come and join us. Come enjoy this rich weave of beautiful, beautiful offerings.
Yes, please do. Please come. I can't wait to meet all of you. Can't wait to see you.
It will be wonderful to connect in person. Thank you so much for being with us today and giving us a little taste of all this beauty you bring. Jesamyn, thank you so much.
Thank you, Katinka. Blessed be.
This interview was conducted by Katinka Soetens. Join us this year for the 29th Glastonbury Goddess Conference, a joyful gathering of goddess-loving people, a 6 days in-person event in Glastonbury, Avalon, running from Tuesday 30th July to Sunday 4th August 2024, with the fringe events starting from Sunday 28th July. This year the theme is the Goddess of Healing. It's our maiden year, the first year of a new 5-year cycle. International presenters, transformative workshops and experiences, deep ceremonies on the sacred land of Avalon, community, art, fun, and love for Goddess. Let your healing journey begin this year. Join us for the Glastonbury Goddess Conference, Goddess of Healing. There are so many options to participate: full conference tickets, weekend tickets, day tickets. Find what suits you best and get your ticket now at goddessconference.com.